Hi, I'm Lisa Rose, and this is my story. So here we go, my story. Okay, I'm going to be creating a coaching program. It's going to be focused primarily on women, although not only. And I will be working with women that are interested in transition, transformation, change, or reinvention, using intuition as their guide and the soul as their pilot. And the story is I have crafted, curated, and created an amazing, interesting life that I absolutely love. And I've done that by following my natural intuition that I've recognized that I've had since I was very young, even before kindergarten. And consulting, regularly with my soul and allowing it to be the great pilot of my life. And initially, when I was, living at home with my parents, having family life and, being raised in all of that, I very much was raised in a culture of what I call supposta. I spell it S-U-P-P-O-S-T-A, supposta. Meaning, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that, you're supposed to do this when you get to this age, you're supposed to go to church on Sunday, you're supposed to get good grades, you're supposed to, fill in the blank. And it was a fairly conservative upbringing, that also had a religious component, as I was raised as a Catholic. And, there was a point where my soul was really making the calls to come out of the box. In fact, most people that know me would say, wow, Lisa, she's out of the box. And she's always been out of the box. But I haven't always sort of exercised my out of the boxness. But I did right around probably age 13 when I had declared that I was no longer going to church, that I was a feminist. That I was going to be educated, I was going to be queen of my life. And it worked out pretty well for me. I would say that a couple of examples, I've done it a few times. I can remember I was supposed to go to college after high school. And I remember my parents were horrified when I had told them that I wasn't doing that. That instead I was going to go work for a lawyer and think about becoming a lawyer. And I didn't really want to waste their money figuring anything out. And that worked out beautifully for me. I ended up working for a company, and they were helping to pay for my education. And I had another plan, I was still living in Supposed where I was supposed to get married and have children. And I was engaged to someone, and I was going to do that. And I was very young. I remember it was like 19, which to me just sounds ridiculous now. And I went on a job interview, and I left that job interview. I interviewed with 5 people, and I left with a business card in my hand, and I knew that I was going to get married to that person instead of the person that I've been engaged to for years. That's it, right? There was no date. There was no, it was a feeling, a sensation, my intuition, my soul calling, saying, you're going down the wrong path, girl. And we just gave you a chance to see that. Well, I didn't, I acted on that right away, ended my relationship, having no idea if this other thing was actually going to turn out or not. And it did. And then I ended up, dating this person for 3 weeks, and we ended up moving to California because he got a job there. We had to decide very quickly whether or not that was going to be something. But I could feel that the reinvention was the way that I was supposed to be going, and I did it. And then after I came to California, I started going to college I was going to be an international marketing major because I was wanting to live in Europe, and I thought that would be a really fun thing to do. And I took a class. I had to take an elective. I took a class. I remember it was in art history, and I left that class the very first day with this feeling of change, transformation, transition, reinvention, where I was going to become an art historian. And that moment, it sounded ridiculous even to me. And I stayed after class and I told that to my professor, and I said, this is my first art history class. I have this really strong feeling like I'm supposed to be doing this. And I don't even know anything about art or art history. I remember Pat Craig, she had shared with me, she said, it's exactly how it happened to me. I ended up becoming an art historian. I became a fine art appraiser. I was a private art dealer for 25 years. And then the nudge for reinvention came again, somewhere around 2010, where I felt like it was time for me to close that chapter of my life and to revisit the metaphysical world, which I had, visited and dabbled in, as a child, and then also as a teenager, and then early into my 20s. And hanging out in Barnes & Noble, trying to decide what I'm going to do with myself. Took a year off, was in the metaphysical section like I usually am in bookstores and libraries, and I could feel a book fall off a shelf behind me, and there was nobody in the aisle but me, and I turned around to take a look at it, and I didn't know who the author was or what didn't recognize the title, and I just put the book back up on the shelf, and I turned around and went back to what I was looking at in the metaphysical section, and the book dropped on the floor again. And I turned around with the hairs raised on the back of my neck. My heart was pounding. I was almost afraid because it was that moment. I was like, uh-oh, here comes again. Here comes again. I'm about to change. I'm about to reinvent. I'm going to have the choice. I'm being led, by my soul again. And I turned around. It was the exact same book in the exact same place. And I picked it up, and it was Sonia Choquette's book, Trust Your Vibes. Yeah, baby. So I put the book in my basket. I knew in an instant that my soul was leading the way. It was piloting me. I was a passenger on the great journey. And I took it home and I read it cover to cover. And I called her office on the following Monday and said, she's my teacher. I want to study with her, and even if she doesn't do any training, I want to train with her privately. I would like to talk to her about private training. And her assistant said, there's a class starting on Monday in Chicago. Well, I said, okay, give me a seat. And there was like 2 seats left. And I bought a ticket, and I got a hotel room, and I changed my work schedule, and I knew, right, with my intuition as my guide and my soul as my pilot, that I was on my way. And it felt good, even though I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing. So I have this ability to be able to take a look at someone and see the greater picture, help them dig deep into their desires, figure out what it is that their divine gifts are, and how they can actually begin to get out of their own way and manifest those in real time with a real application. Using my life as the example, I already know that I'm able to,